6 p.m. and you're watching TSN Online. Hello, please subscribe to our channel, hit like, ring the bell, and I'll tell you about the main highlights of the day. With the Uragan multiple rocket launcher system, the Russians struck the center of Kushuhum in Zaporizhzhia. This village is 15 kilometers from the front line. The moment of the shelling was caught on a surveillance camera. In these chilling frames, you can see the explosions and flashes continuing non-stop. In less than a minute of the attack, cluster munitions damaged 45 private houses, as well as a gas pipeline and power lines. As a result of the shelling, one person was injured and the municipal utility was also damaged.
The cars were just being taken out at that moment. There are exactly 8 distinct vehicles present here, specifically 2 passenger cars, a large sewage truck, a robust agricultural tractor, and a well-equipped buffet truck. All of this impressive equipment was brand new and specifically utilized to effectively serve all the local residents in the entire expansive territory of Kushuhum, truly benefiting the whole community. Malokaterynivka was also significantly hit, and some of these destructive drones flew much lower. These were truly huge, massive drones, which completely destroyed our beloved House of Culture in Malokaterynivka, as well as in Pivbava and also in Pelosi Krishini, causing widespread devastation.
Russian war criminals dropped 2 aerial bombs on Sloviansk. At present, it is known that at least 7 people have been injured. 1 person is in serious condition. Private houses and apartment buildings have been damaged, and the full extent of the strike is still being determined. A Russian drone struck a civilian car in the Mykolaiv community in the Sumy region. A 27-year-old man and woman were hospitalized with blast injuries. Attack drones are terrorizing Sumy and Bilopilia. In the regional center, the roof of an apartment building was pierced, a household was destroyed, and the city of Bilopilia has been completely left without power as a result of strikes on energy facilities. After the morning shelling of Kherson, 2 men who were in a car at the time of the enemy attack were hospitalized with blast injuries. The occupiers also fired at 2 police cars with a drone, which were at the scene of a traffic accident. 4 law enforcement officers and 2 civilians were wounded. The occupiers shelled the town of Derhachi in the Kharkiv region with rocket artillery. An elderly resident was hospitalized with blast injuries. Houses, cars, and an electric train were damaged. There are also reports of livestock killed. In the Borivska community, aerial bombs damaged an agricultural enterprise and equipment. The security guard suffered an acute stress reaction. In the past 24 hours, there have been 87 airstrikes, 192 guided bombs, and nearly 6,000 kamikaze drones targeting our defenders on the front line. Overall, the General Staff reports 217 combat engagements and more than 4,000 enemy shellings, 118 of which were from multiple launch rocket systems. The hottest situation remains in the Pokrovsk area. 58 attacks were repelled there. Drone operators from the 4th Special Purpose Tactical Group released a video showing Russian infantry entering the eastern part of the first mine of the Pokrovsky mine administration, but they were not allowed to gain a foothold. And enemy assault troops were taken out by drones inside the building. Mykola Volokov, commander of the Terra Group within the 3rd Army Corps, reported that the Russians are now trying to use the last remnants of favorable weather for one final push, because the weather will soon turn against them. In the past 24 hours alone, the enemy has lost more than 1,000 personnel and 400 pieces of equipment. Fires in Russia. In the Volgograd region, a fire broke out near the Korobkovsky gas processing plant. The blaze was filmed by local residents. However, although the Russian Ministry of Defense reported that there were drones over the region that night, the governor of Volgograd did not confirm that there were any fires at fuel and energy facilities. The Korobkovsky gas processing plant is the largest enterprise in the southern federal district of Russia. A fire was also recorded in the area of the Yefimovka oil pumping station. These fires were detected by a satellite fire monitoring system. And by the afternoon, it became known that drones had struck an oil depot in the Rostov region. At first, eyewitnesses posted photos and videos of the drones flying overhead online, and later local officials reported that 3 UAVs had been shot down. As a result of the explosion, windows were blown out in several houses in the village of Matviev-Kurgan and cars were damaged. We, for our part, are waiting for official confirmation of the strikes from our special services.
Oh, that one went for the oil depot. The oil depot.
More than 30,000 subscribers remain without electricity in the Odesa region. In particular, the entire city of Chornomorsk was forced to switch to generators. These are the consequences of a massive drone attack. During the night, the enemy targeted energy facilities and port infrastructure. A gas station and residential buildings were also hit. More about the consequences from TSN correspondent Sergey Osadchuk.
We are now in the suburbs of Odesa. This private sector suffered from attacks by the Russians, who once again targeted critical infrastructure last night. Using a dozen attack drones, the enemy aimed at substations. Instead, they hit private homes. On this street, after being hit, a house burned down completely. People were able to save themselves because they ran to the shelter.
At first, a socket was hanging from the wire, the lights went out. I went around the house to see the window had blown out. The neighbor said, and we immediately ran to the shelter. We ran with the little one, yes. She said, "It's no better here, I'm staying home." I told her, "Run home quickly, more will be flying soon." Everything burned down, the neighbor's house too. A shell hit ours and the one next to it as well. That's how it was, that's how it all happened. It exploded and we ran.
Miss Yevgenia's neighbor is pulling an injured dog out from under the rubble. Its legs were cut by shrapnel. The animal cannot move on its own. Not a single window survived in Miss Irina's house. This is already the fourth attack the family has endured. Unfortunately, they survived. The woman says this time was the scariest.
My son ran in and shouted, "Mom, Mom!" He had just reached the room with my little daughter, carrying her in his arms. He ran in shouting, "Mom, Mom!" And then there was an explosion and it all happened. Of course, my daughter got scared. She's still very little. And even we as adults, if we're scared, just imagine how the children feel. There are no windows, the ceilings have collapsed, all the windows have been blown out, everything is broken, the roof was blown off, and even the beams were damaged. The beams and the walls are damaged too, and there are even Shahed drone fragments stuck in them. You can see it right there in the fence. There's nothing left, you can see it for yourself.
In addition to private houses, a gas station and a transport company were also damaged by the explosions. The largest fire broke out on the territory of the port facility where containers with household goods were stored. Here, rescuers even had to use a firefighting robot.
There was a very high fire load and it was difficult for the rescuers to reach the center of the blaze in some places. In total, more than 80 firefighters and 4 volunteers took part in eliminating the consequences of the enemy attack. At the moment, we know of 5 people who were injured.
Due to the night attack, power went out not only in several villages near Odesa. The city of Chornomorsk was also left without electricity again. Emergency crews have already started working to replace the power lines damaged by the explosions. They promised to restore electricity by 8 p.m. For now, critical infrastructure is being powered by generators. Sergey Osadchuk, Sergey Holenyuk, Podeshchina, TSN 1+1.
A woman who directed enemy strikes on the Pokrovsky district in Donetsk region has been sentenced to life imprisonment. A resident of the village of Kurahivka gathered information about Ukrainian defenders and passed the coordinates to her son, who is fighting on the enemy's side. She even took revenge on her godmother for her patriotic beliefs. As a result of this strike, a woman was killed. 2 more men were injured. In phone conversations with the enemy, she rejoiced over the victims. The court found her guilty of state treason and imposed the highest possible sentence.
Thank you for the godmother. A direct hit to the roof. The godmother has no home now. You hit higher up. People died there. A woman was killed. Well done. I love you. You did your job. For the godmother, I kiss your hands.
Premeditated murder and illegal handling of weapons. The police have opened 2 criminal cases over the explosion in an apartment of a high-rise building in the capital. It happened last night in the Svyatoshinsky district. According to preliminary data, an unidentified device detonated. 1 person was killed and another was injured.
The police received a report about the incident yesterday around 6:30 p.m. It was established that as a result of the explosion, a 41-year-old man died, and his 65-year-old father, the owner of the house, was injured. Preliminary findings indicate that the explosion occurred as a result of the detonation of an unidentified explosive device.
NATO is considering the possibility of a military response to Russian hybrid attacks. The Allies are discussing the possibility of a decisive response to provocations by the aggressor country. This was reported by the Financial Times. Among the options being considered by NATO are the deployment of strike drones along the border with Russia or granting pilots permission to open fire on Russian aircraft. Officials say the goal of such measures is to increase the cost of Moscow's hybrid war and to establish clear countermeasures following a series of minor airspace violations by Russian drones and aircraft. Interestingly, the discussion was initiated by countries that border Russia, and they were supported in this by Britain and France. The discussions are still ongoing with no set deadline for their conclusion, and moreover, according to the Financial Times, any decision made may not be announced publicly. Hungarian spies at the heart of United Europe. Budapest carried out intelligence activities in Brussels and tried to recruit employees of European institutions. This is reported in a joint investigation by several global media outlets from Hungary, Germany, and Belgium. According to journalists, between 2015 and 2017, one of the Hungarian agents operated under diplomatic cover while attempting to recruit a representative of the European Commission. He offered him money for information and rumors, but the latter refused. In this way, Budapest sought to fill the information gaps that arose due to its confrontation with the European Union. The spy acting in Hungary's interests ultimately failed. In particular, due to excessive pressure from the Hungarian authorities, he had to act recklessly, and eventually he returned to his homeland. The names of 2 more suspected Hungarian spies were also discovered, who at that time also drew attention to themselves. It was previously reported that Hungarian agents also monitored EU investigators who were investigating corruption linked to Orbán's associates. The first phase of the peace plan has been signed. The President of the United States announced encouraging news about Israel and Hamas. Donald Trump wrote on his social network that, as a result of negotiations in Egypt, the parties agreed to begin implementing the first stage of the peace plan for resolving the situation in the Gaza Strip. According to the President of the United States, this means the release of all hostages captured by the Hamas group. The White House stated that this could happen as early as Monday. In return, Israel will withdraw its troops to a previously agreed line. And today, the Israeli government will approve the first phase of the peace plan. The mediators in these negotiations, not us, but the US, Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey, say that Israel and Hamas have agreed to allow humanitarian aid access to Gaza. Every day, 400 trucks will be allowed through. The UN is already planning to increase the volume of aid. Ursula von der Leyen has remained in office. The European Parliament rejected the vote of no confidence against the President of the European Commission. The proposal for von der Leyen's resignation was put forward by 2 parties with opposing views, the political group The Left and the far-right group Patriots for Europe, founded by the controversial Hungarian Prime Minister Orbán. Both proposals were rejected by the deputies. This means that the current composition of the European Commission, led by the pro-Ukrainian Ursula von der Leyen, remains in office. This is already the second attempt this year to declare a vote of no confidence against her. The previous attempt failed in July. At that time, the vote for the resignation of the President of the European Commission was initiated by Romanian far-right members. A 45-year-old serviceman entered a grocery store in one of the villages of the Lviv district with a grenade and ammunition. The shop assistants immediately called the police. After negotiations, law enforcement officers managed to persuade the man to voluntarily hand over the grenade. It was taken away for inspection. Later, it turned out that the serviceman had left his unit without permission. He was detained and informed of the suspicion against him. He is being charged under the article for illegal handling of weapons. This carries a sentence of 3 to 7 years in prison. The motives for his actions are currently unknown. Military reservists can be booked even if they are wanted, but there is a nuance. The Parliament has allowed defense industry enterprises to reserve for 45 days people who have issues with military registration, such as missing or improperly completed military documents, or if a citizen is not registered or even wanted by the authorities. Such employees are given a legal grace period of 45 days to resolve all discrepancies in their paperwork. Once the registration issues are resolved, the reservation will be extended, or it will be cancelled if the deficiencies are not corrected. By providing this preliminary reservation, the state addresses several problems. In particular, more highly qualified workers will remain at enterprises, and men who previously had paperwork issues will come out of the shadows and work legally, explained Ukrainian Member of Parliament Halina Yanchenko.
We are essentially giving a generous 45-day window of opportunity to undergo the necessary military medical commission, to officially register in the reserve forces, and then, with all the proper and required documents, have the valuable opportunity to work and receive essential reservations at designated defense factories. It's it.
You will be able to register your license plates online. New services for motorists will soon be launched in the DIA app. This was reported by the Ministry of Digital Transformation. In particular, car owners will be allowed to retain and extend the validity of their license plates without visiting the Ministry of Internal Affairs service centers, as well as reserve and choose combinations for a new car from their own stock. The exact date for these improvements will be announced later. A herd of llamas was released into the wild in the Odesa region. 7 animals found a home in the Tarutin steppe. By the end of this year and the beginning of next year, even more deer will be brought to these territories. The relocation of animals to their former habitats is being carried out by specialists from a public environmental protection organization. If the llama population recovers, there will be numerous benefits, both for nature and for local communities. After all, these animals eat shrubs, and reducing them will lower the risk of fires. And in the place where the shrubs are eaten, new types of plants that thrive in open spaces will grow. This is how the natural balance of the steppe will regenerate, say ecologists. And after the war ends, it will be possible to develop ecological tourism here. That's all from me for now. Take care of yourselves and see you next time.